In 1969, the Dirty Reich Motorcycle Club of Sherbrooke officially changed their name to the Gitans at a General Assembly meeting held that spring. The event was covered in the June 19, 1969 edition of La Tribune, as if it was reporting upon a government matter of business in Quebec Parliament. It would take some time, La Tribune dutifully noted, for members to produce new crests, which would cost the club $500. Could their treasury bear the expense? There was a long discussion of simply patching over and joining Le Quebecois, a motorcycle club in neighboring Granby. That would solve the problem, as it was argued, of Dirty Reich not being French enough, though the name certainly had an old world European feel to it. In the end, the majority ruled, and the Gitans were born. The La Tribune article reported on, quote, other projects, how the Gitans were working on a capital campaign to buy a rundown barn in Saint-Denis-de-Brompton, a small village located about 20 kilometers northwest of the city of Sherbrooke. Fundraising had begun and a weekend car wash was planned. What fun! To raise $500 for the purchase and another $500 for the renovation and landscaping work. In the end, the bikers got their headquarters, one of the first of the bunkers. More of these community eyesores would eventually pop up and spawn in Lennoxville and more famously Sorel Tracy. Throughout the summers of 1969 and 1970, La Tribune ran almost a weekly page on youth issues, singing the virtues of motorcycle clubs like their hometown Gitans. More details emerged about the Saint-Denis-de-Brompton bunker. The father of André Calombre, the young biker killed in a motorcycle accident that spring, was now working on the construction of the facility, and the bikers thanked all of who had, quote, provided materials, boards, sand, and cement. So the community, not only did they put up with this, they paid for the privilege. Not only through fundraising, charitable donations, but through their actual sweat and tears to construct a gang, biker, organized crime facility. Similar to the Montreal Merc clubhouse, located on the land donated by the town of Anjou and British Petroleum, as we've noticed, and similar to that, there was a tract of land in the woods at the Saint-Denis-de-Brompton facility where members might stage races, they argued, or, I say, provide the distance needed so that the nosy public couldn't observe what they were up to. If you recall, Teresa Martin was more than likely murdered at the Merc clubhouse in Montreal. One Gitan member commented that the land was big enough so that the public couldn't hear the revving of motorcycle engines or a woman's scream. No longer questioning the Gitans' motives, La Tribune now put the blame on the public for prejudgment and ignorance. This is from La Tribune. It makes one think that basically bikers are not so different from other very young people of their age. If we do not hold any prejudices that employ us against the bikers, perhaps we would be more available to discover an image that is more real and values that are more positive than those to which, unfortunately, we are accustomed to from sensationalists. Of particular interest, reporter André Bernier wrote, "Among the Gitans, as is the case for several biker clubs, you have to follow certain laws." Not procedures, not policy, laws. For example, no member may do anything that would harm the reputation of the club. In addition, the carrying of weapons and the consumption of drugs are prohibited. It's from an article called "A Club Based on a Solid Organization." André Bernier, September 27, 1969, La Tribune. During this period, the Gitans were still hiding behind the cassock of Father Jean Salvail, the biker priest from the Saint-Famille parish in Sherbrooke, who was now being referred to as the great chief of the three clans, for he had now become the chaplain for not only the Gitan club in Sherbrooke, but of clubs in neighboring Cowansville and Frelidsburg. The Gitans now had their focus on a new project, and that was to join the Merc, Motard Unides Quebec. If the project materializes, it will be possible for them to take part in a large-scale activities throughout the province. In addition, they will be able to fraternize more with fellow bikers from all over Quebec. It's from the same article. So consolidation had clearly already begun. And according to one Gitans member, the club received divine assistance to help with their organization. In the same La Tribune edition, reporter Raymond Lapin profiled the biker priest with the gushing headline, "A chaplain not like the others." Salvail was credited with being, quote, "a bit of a thinker, a bit more experienced, and the guys trust him when it comes to making quick decisions or solving complicated organizational problems. He does not do everything, far from it, but he can help the guys to organize themselves." My emphasis. A chaplain like no others. Raymond Lepin. La Tribune, September 27, 1969. Salvail's ministry extended to working with the guys and helping them with their problems. There are even photos of Jean Salvail working on the refurbishment of their barn project in Saint-Denis-de-Brompton. There's one of him with a shovel and a wheelbarrow. If you go to the website, theresalore.com, TheresaLore.com, there are all kinds of treasured photographic discoveries that I have posted. And I would note that the move to join the membership of La Merc is actually, in my opinion, quite a brilliant tactical maneuver. For now, whenever a biker got rousted by police in Montreal or vice versa, you could simply say you were there on Merc business. where your real purpose was the distribution of narcotics and the trafficking of young girls. And with all of this illicit business conducted under the direct blessing of the police, the government, and the most powerful social force in the province, the Catholic Church. Meanwhile, back in Sherbrooke, the city was struggling to figure out why crime was going up. In March 1969, Mayor Armand Nadeau kicked off Obey the Law Week. Guys, can we get you to do it just for 1 week? The other 51, I know it's a shit show, but 1 week, Obey the Law Week. Nadeau blamed the spike in crime to citizens who refused to help their police department. Is it any wonder the people of Sherbrooke were confused when the same leaders were telling them that the actual criminals were just a hairy bunch of beatniks? How could they be bad? They had God on their side. I'll cut to the chase here and say that leadership in Sherbrooke never really improved, as witnessed in the Rock Forest affair in the 1980s, which we've previously covered. Nadeau was ousted in 1970, followed by one-termer Marc Bureau. The next mayor, Jacques O'Brady, is chiefly remembered for arguing in 1981 that the then proposed Freedom of Information laws shouldn't apply to municipalities because municipal administrations already do a good job of telling their citizens what is going on. In October 1969, La Tribune anointed Father Jean Salvail their Man of the Month, the young abbé who wanted to live in the contested milieu of young amateur motorcyclists whom the population had so much to reproach. That's according to La Tribune, which continued, misunderstood, misjudged, often unjustly, the young people who seek strong sensations on their motorbikes have found a brother, a guide, a guy who thinks more than them and who is there when they need him. It should be noted that the police officers of Sherbrooke have not had to address major reproaches to the motorcyclists since Abbé Salvail became a member of the gang. I should think not. That's from L'Ami des Motards, choisi l'homme du mois du septembre par La Tribune, October 18th, 1969. La Tribune again reminded everyone that Father Salvail was now the president of the three Gitans clans, those of Sherbrooke, Freelidsburg, and Cowansville, and that among the bikers, quote, nothing must be done to harm the reputation of the club, and the carrying of arms and the use of drugs are strictly forbidden. In a call and response that could have only happened through La Tribune's encouragement, the following spring, May 1970, the Cowansville Municipal Police honored two Gitans Club's members. Robert Menard, secretary of the Cowansville chapter, was named Gentleman Biker of 1969. An honorable mention was given to club president Claude Levesque. The Cowansville chief of police noted he was considering organizing some motorcycle competitions, which would be seen as a sign of cooperation between bikers and police. That summer, such an event did take place. In Sherbrooke, of course. Gitans president, Georges Beaulieu, was interviewed at the event and asked such challenging questions as, "Why do you have long hair?" and "How satisfied are you with being a motorcyclist?" Nevertheless, some of Beaulieu's responses were interesting. "The president of the club has absolute authority. The members respect him and follow his directions, even more so than follow their mother's directions in most cases. We are free to go where we want, and we are not attached to roads. If we want to go into the woods, you go, and that's it. We have the freedom that the ordinary citizen cannot have." That's Georges Beaulieu, La Tribune, July 6, 1970. Three years later, everything crashed to the ground. On October 5, 1973, the Sherbrooke Record reported how rivalries between the Adams and Gitans broke into open war. Georges Beaulieu and Lucien Cyr, who was said to be affiliated with a Montreal gang, were charged with shooting and attempted beating of 3 Adams members outside the Chez Freud discotheque. Members of the Sherbrooke Police and the Sûreté du Québec, then named the Quebec Police Force, or QPF, then raided the Saint-Denis du Brompton camp and discovered, you guessed it, a large arsenal of rifles, shotguns, revolvers, knives, a machete, and weapons made from chains, alongside a large cache of ammunition. This wasn't the first incident known to police, but it was the first time the public learned of the rivalry. Not from La Tribune, but in Sherbrooke's other English newspaper, The Record. According to police sources, the violence had begun 2 years earlier when Gitans ripped the colors or patches off of Adams members, an act seen as unpardonable. Skirmishes ensued outside nightclubs and parking lots. In late September, the Adams camp in Edgewidge, a village 15 kilometers southeast of Compton, was burned to the ground by Gitans. According to police, the conflicts boiled down to territory. The Gitans do not believe there is enough room in Sherbrooke for 2 gangs. On October 23, 1973, the Sherbrooke Record again reported how 2 Gitans members dragged a teenage girl from a nightclub with the intent of bringing her back to the Saint-Denis de Brompton camp for a gang rape. The news made it to the front page of the Sherbrooke Record, but was not reported in La Tribune. Capping off the month of October was the following story, which made all the news, including La Presse in Montreal. 11 members of the Gitans Club appeared yesterday morning before Magistrate Roland Dugré on charges of rape and complicity in the rape of 2 young girls, aged 18 and 24. Guy Pelletier and Jacques Quilteau, 26 years old, are accused of rape and complicity in rape. Yves Savoie and Laurent Provencher, aged 21 and 23 respectively, are charged with rape. Neil Fortier, 19, 2 charges of complicity in a rape. Gaétan Berger, 20, complicity in rape, as well as Michel Roy, 33, Michel Fortier, 23, Pierre Jacob, 23, and Jacques Boucher, 19. Georges Beaulieu, president of the Gitans Club, who was already on bail pending a preliminary investigation into a charge of aggravated assault on the person of a member of the Adams, was charged yesterday with 2 counts, intimidation of a witness in connection with the abduction of a young girl, and complicity in rape. 11 Gitans accusés du viol, La Tribune, October 30th, 1973. The Gitans, who the public had been led to believe just wanted to be left alone by the press, the police, the church, had now gang raped or attempted to gang rape several young girls from Sherbrooke. 2 of the 11 men, Gaétan Berger and Georges Beaulieu, would eventually be named in the Quebec government's SECO report. And I'll pause there and have you consider that Edwidge Compton connection mentioned earlier. In the early 1970s, Kings Hall Compton was not a co-ed cégep facility like it became in the later part of the decade, but an all-girls private boarding school. And you had bikers who gang raped, traveling along the route to the Adams camp, eventually burning it down to the ground, passing that school on a daily basis. The Kings Hall Girls' School was shuttered in 1972, we are told, for financial considerations. But is that the whole story? As it was a private institution, we might never know what abuses were suffered by those young women unless someone summons the courage to come forward. Since the spring of 1969, when they were first known as the Dirty Reich, Father Jean Salvail's involvement with the Gitans had bought them the time they needed to get organized and become a fully functioning criminal operation. No one from the press, certainly not La Tribune, reached out to Father John Salvail to ask for his comments on the matters of the gang rapes. This is Who Killed Teresa.